What's up, beautiful people? Today's video is all about Georgia, a country that absolutely took my breath away. I've already made a video on why I think you should visit, but today I'm going to be talking about the top places that should be on your list for when you make the trip. Perhaps the most obvious place to start is with Tbilisi, the eclectic capital that is home to around a third of the population of Georgia. It's full of friendly people, wonderful tastes and beautiful sights, and a great place to start any Georgian adventure. Get lost on the narrow streets in the picturesque old town, or find your way to one of the many elegant wine bars. Madloba! Take a cable car to get a bird's eye view and end up at a centuries-old fortress, or jump on a funicular to an amusement park founded in the Soviet era. Find yourself marvelling at street art, stuffing your face, or visiting one of the largest religious buildings in the world. One thing's for sure, you are not going to be short of things to do. From the city, we go to the mountains to Mestia. This pretty town is in the northwest of the country, in a region called Signagi, famous for its defensive towers that can be over 1,000 years old. In recent years, Mestia has seen more development with plenty of guest houses opening up, and there's even a couple of ski resorts. I definitely recommend some time walking around the town, but the main reason you'll be here is to hike out into the mountains that surround it. There's plenty of day hikes to choose from, and you may even end up with a local inviting you to try your hand at scything in the fields.
I don't think I'm made for work in the fields.
Two hikes that I can personally recommend are the Chiatura Ridge and the Koruldi Ridge, and the latter of these can be reached via the cable car at one of the ski resorts. So if you want the views without exerting yourself too much, there's an option for that too.
Just the views on this walk right now, along the ridge, are pretty insane.
Next come the Koruldi Lakes, and reaching them can be another day hike from Mestia, but the view was so phenomenal that I had to include them as a place in their own right on this list. When I was there, I didn't want to walk one day, and I made some new friends, and together we got a 4x4 to take us up the mountain, which was an adventure in itself. It's hard to describe the beauty of the views that we had when we were near the lakes, so I'm just going to let the video do the talking here. From Mestia, you'll want to find the time to visit Ushguli, a collection of 5 villages and known as Europe's highest permanent settlement at 2,100 metres. It's possible to do a 3 or 4 day hike from Mestia and you'll stop at local villages en route, or alternatively you can get a taxi or a minibus. When you arrive, you'll honestly feel like you stepped back in time, and the only thing that will give it away are the satellite dishes that will be on the side of some of the buildings.
A little bit of a juxtaposition. A building hundreds of years old, close to 1,000, with a satellite dish, or a couple of them on it.
It has 6 months of snow during the year, and the road can often be impassable, and I think it's this inaccessibility that has preserved its charm.
Hello.
Dominating the views from Ushguli is Mount Shkhara, the highest point in Georgia, and I highly recommend taking a day trip to hike up close to it. It's a relatively easy, flat valley hike running alongside a glacial river, and you'll doubtless be stunned by the locals going about their daily lives as you pass through. You'll end up at the Shkhara glacier and be able to get some great photos, both looking down the valley and up at the peak, which is also the border with Russia. Just don't get too close, as every so often rocks come cascading down the mountain as the glacier melts. Next up is the Katskhi Pillar, a natural limestone monolith 40 metres high with a church on top. Studies of the site have determined that it dates back to the 9th or the 10th century, and a monk of the Georgian Orthodox Church has lived on top of the pillar for 20 years. He's restored the old chapel with help from local villagers, and although accessing the top of the rock was once possible to some visitors, it's no longer allowed. Nevertheless, it's a pretty unique place to visit. Close to the Katskhi Pillar is the mining town of Chiatura. This is a town unlike any other due to the discovery of manganese, an essential part of the manufacture of heavy weapons in the 19th century. At one point, it accounted for 75% of the Georgian economy, but it was a dangerous job extracting the reserves because of the steep terrain. Not only was it treacherous, but inefficient, and as such, Stalin planned a system of cable cars to increase productivity. When I visited, it didn't seem like they were still in use, but it was super cool to wander the town and see the rusting cars. Next, we have Uplistsikhe, Georgia's oldest cave town. It's located 80 kilometers from Tbilisi, not far from Gori, which is infamous for being Stalin's birthplace. Uplistsikhe was founded in the late Bronze Age, over 3,000 years ago, and it has had many uses throughout history by different groups. It's possible to see pagan places of sacrifice, a pharmacy, a bakery, a prison, and even an amphitheatre. There's tunnels cut in the rock to connect some of the rooms, and you'll probably leave via an escape tunnel. Signagi is next on the list, located in the heart of Kakheti, Georgia's wine region. It's also known as the City of Love, with many Georgians travelling here to get married, and it's easy to see why when you're walking along the old city walls with a view of the valley and mountains in the distance. Georgians are proud that the oldest winemaking technique originated in their country, and so here is the perfect place to visit a vineyard. You'll see where the grapes are grown, learn all about the technique, and, of course, get to try a vast array of wines. You'll probably also be encouraged to drink chacha, an exceedingly strong and often homemade Georgian spirit. Good luck. Back to the mountains to Kazbegi, now officially named Stepantsminda. It's one of the most visited places in all of Georgia, and easy to get to as the Georgian military highway runs straight to it and beyond to the nearby border with Russia. The impressive Mount Kazbek looms to the west, and one of the main tourist spots in all of Georgia, the Gegeti Trinity Church, sits in its shadow. You can choose to drive or to walk to the church, and when you get there you'll be afforded stunning views over Kazbegi and all of the surrounding nature. This is also where the 3 or 4 day hike up Mount Kazbek starts, if you fancy challenging yourself.
We sure have. You're keeping us company.
And we've spoken about the capital, Tbilisi, but not the former capital, Mtskheta. You can visit on a day trip from Tbilisi, or, as many people do, on your way to Kazbegi. This is one of the oldest cities in Georgia, and at one point it served as a significant economic and political centre for the Kingdom of Iberia. It's listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and was the birthplace of Christianity in Georgia. The key things to see here are the Sukhora Valley Cathedral, the 4th century Sam Tavro Monastery and the 6th century Javari Monastery, the latter of which overlooks the city and the confluence of the Aragvi and Mtkheta rivers. Next is the Ananuri Castle complex. This will probably be a relatively short stop, but one well worth making to see the medieval monument and the Zinvali reservoir it overlooks. It's been the scene of numerous battles in Georgia's history, and you'll find 2 17th century churches within the fortress, the larger of which has some amazing stone carvings. Just bear in mind that this is one of the most visited places in the country too, so expect to see a lot of people. Further on the Georgian military highway is the Russia-Georgian Friendship Monument, another stopping point on the way to Kazbegi. The monument was erected to celebrate the friendship between Russia and Georgia, with a huge tile mural depicting scenes of the country's intertwined history. Without a doubt, one of the best experiences of my entire trip took place here, and that was paragliding. I highly recommend you consider it, but just be very aware of the many unlicensed guides. I took to the skies with Sky Atlantida and flew with Anatoly, a world-renowned paragliding champion. But while I was on my flight, I did see someone who'd crashed with one of the unlicensed guides onto the side of the mountain.
There we go, guys. Look at the left. Oh, lele, man. Look at the left. Oh, hey. This is what I meant. Look at this, guys. This is paradise.
The penultimate place on this list is the Truso Valley, a really nice place to walk in the Kazbegi area. It has a number of interesting formations and abandoned settlements, and I was even invited in by an inhabitant of what seemed like a temporary settlement for tea.
Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, I couldn't take her up on her offer, as I had to get back for my minibus.
Mad lover.
Another thing to note is that you won't be able to explore the entire valley. You'll be able to go to the Zakagori fortress where the Georgian border post is, but then you'll have to turn back. Regardless, it's definitely somewhere to consider because the views are amazing. Finally, we have Juta, another spot not to miss in the Kazbegi area. Getting there from Kazbegi involves a 24-kilometre drive and only 8 kilometres of it is paved, so I definitely recommend going in a decent taxi or bus. This way you'll avoid a similar death-defying experience to the one I had.
This is the car we're going in today. We thought we'd be going in like a 4-wheel drive Delica or something like this, but looks like we're doing it the fun way.
Sometimes referred to as the Dolomites of Georgia, Juta is a great place to relax and hike, either for a day or longer. If you have the time and the inclination, then you can go for an extended hike in the area, and if you're lucky, you'll get a clear day and see the Chalky Mountains.
That is an epic view.
And there we have it, my top 15 places that should be on your list for Georgia. If you found this video useful, please like it and consider subscribing, and be sure to check out the whole series of vlogs I have for Georgia on my channel. Come say hello on Instagram or Facebook at Loz's Leisure. And for now, I want to thank you so much for watching. Big love, and it feels good around here.